Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Fulbright program webinar this afternoon. We're talking about Science, Engineering and Technology Awards that you can apply to for the upcoming program for 26-27. So you're very welcome. I'm Dara Fitzgerald and I'm the Executive Director with the Fulbright Commission here in Ireland. And I'm joined in the background by Aoife Drinan and by Fulbright alum Paul Van Kampen. So today we're essentially going to talk about awards that are more appropriate for those of you in the science, engineering, technology, STEM space. So this is kind of a focus. Obviously, we have more awards than we're going to talk about today, but we're going to kind of focus down and kind of discuss the ones. In a generic sense, all of the same principles apply. Then it's just about the specific awards we're going to talk about today. So Fulbright program. Fulbright program is one strand of a number of programs which is run by the Ireland United States Commission for Educational Exchange, which is the commission that we run. It's our biggest program, obviously, and it's been a stalwart program of the commission. We do run some other programs. We provide Irish language funding to US institutions in the US of A. We also run Education USA, which is a study abroad program and portal. And as a commission, we have been involved with the United States. And as a program, we've been involved with the United States for a long time, for 67, 68 of the now 101 years of diplomatic engagement between Ireland and the United States. So it's been a significant program and a significant commission input to Irish and US engagement over the last number of decades. I mentioned Education USA. This is where we provide support for postgraduate and undergraduate Irish students who wish to go and study in the United States. So this is separate to the Fulbright program, and it's a broader remit across all of the United States. We work with the Education USA team in the States who can provide a lot of advisory for those who wish to go and study. In fact, we would, for anybody who's going to be there, we will also have a stand starting tomorrow at Higher Options in the RDS, and that's going to be the Education USA stand there. About the Fulbright program then, so we're specifically here today to talk about that. It's funded by the Irish and US governments, and we have sponsors of institutional sponsors, we have agency sponsors as well, and we have partnerships both in Ireland and in the United States. The majority of funding for the program actually comes from Irish sources. The actual Fulbright program itself was set up in 1946, post Second World War, as a way to allow countries to engage with each other through education and people who go, to encourage people to spend some time in each other's countries and see each other as people and understand where they're coming from, walk a few miles in each other's steps. And that the view for Senator Fulbright, when he was looking to appropriate funds to set up the program, was that this would be a way to stop future horrors that people had inflicted on each other during the Second World War. When he first set up the program, there was an expectation of maybe 7 or 8 countries joining. We're now at over 165 countries, so I think that could be counted as being wildly successful. And the Ireland United States Commission for Educational Exchange, we were set up as a commission to run the program from 91 into 92. Prior to that, it was run by internal departments in the Irish government. So what the program is and what the opportunities that you're dialing in today to hear about, it's for students, for scholars, for artists, for teachers, professionals. We typically call professionals those of you 5 years more relevant professional experience. When we say students, we mean postgraduate students. Scholars, we mean people postdoctoral or post-professional doctorate award. But it's, again, these awards are for all disciplines and for people to research or study or teach or lecture in the United States. So this part of the program we're talking about is going from Ireland to the United States. Obviously, the reciprocal program we also run for US applicants to Ireland, and those programs are actually coming to a close in the next couple of months. What do the Fulbright Awards provide? Well, at a base level, they do provide a monetary grant. There's also an amount of visa administration. We provide accident and emergency insurance whilst you're on your award in the United States. I think probably a bigger part, and we always talk about this, is the cultural and professional programming and the engagement that you get from beyond this. So it's less about the work from our point of view or the research area or the study area. It's more about the cultural and professional engagement that you get from being part of the program. There is an ongoing support and links to a global network of Fulbright alum. So it's not just Irish Fulbright alum or US Fulbright alum, but in 165 countries around the world, you will find Fulbrighters. So it's a huge component of the program. It is obviously a recognition of personal and professional excellence. These are all the good, strong points for what Fulbright ostensibly brings at the top level. But there is so much more to it. It is very much an experience of a lifetime. And we have Fulbrighters who are now in their 90s who still speak fondly about the experience that they had on the Fulbright Award. It can be a lifelong engagement. We're always there. You can step in and step out as you wish. It is a recognition of excellence. This is part of a significant driver in Fulbright, but not the only driver. You join part of a Fulbright Irish family. It is very much a Fulbright family experience. We do actually have Fulbright couples, we have Fulbright children, and there are Fulbright grandchildren that now exist. And you'll sometimes find that intergenerational Fulbrighters do exist, where a parent or a child subsequently goes, or even a grandchild subsequently goes. So it can be part of, when we say Fulbright family, it can really be a Fulbright family. I think this slide for me represents very well the experience that people tend to have and we wish them to have on their Fulbright experience. It's not all really about the work, it's about their experience and the memories that they create and the people that you met and the new things you tried and the successes that you had. All of that can be encompassed in one experience, which is pretty unusual. But that's why I think it can be such an impressive experience for people. So getting down to the nitty-gritty then, because what we're here today to talk about is the application process, because the awards are open and they will be closing on the 23rd of October. So for anybody who's interested in applying, you're either in the process already or you're starting the process now. So what is that process? In August, obviously, we have the applications are opening. They will close on 23rd of October. Then in November and December, we'll carry out technical and award level reviews. January and February, then we will invite people in for interviews. And March and April, should be in a position to make offers. So that's our normal timeline for that. In terms of your planning, well, all of this can be compressed now because the awards are already open. But we would say to still take the time to review the information on our website. Knowledge is key in trying to assess what you want to do and how to be successful. Knowledge is key. Choose a program and an award, or find a course, or plan your research proposal. Research what it means to be a Fulbrighter. And if you think back to the engagement that we're talking about, it is very much an aspect of engagement, cultural engagement, engaging with people you're going to meet in the States, and having that experience and the things that you might learn. Register your interest. I think you can forego that really to register your interest and apply. So I would strongly encourage people to obviously consider the parts at the front there, and then jump straight to apply at this point. So establishing your eligibility courses is a useful first step to take. Irish awards are open to Irish citizens or EU and UK citizens who have been in Ireland for 5 years or more. You should demonstrate a strong rationale for where you're going to in the United States, and actually why you're going to the United States, full stop, because it may turn out that there are other options that are more appropriate for you, but it's always good to have an understanding of that. It should make sense for you anyway. Explain why Fulbright. Why not take another opportunity? Why not go there under your own steam? Why does it have to be a Fulbright supported award? Irrespective of whether it's you're applying as a student, postgraduate, to become a postgraduate student, or to carry out your research. But why does it have to be Fulbright? This is important, so don't skip that step. You will need to comply with the 2-year home rule of the J1 visa. What that means is that post your visa, you must reside in the Republic of Ireland for 2 years. If this only applies if you then subsequently want to go back to the States on a more permanent residency type of visa. it doesn't stop you going back for short-term, the usual short-term visits that you might want to go to. It's only if post Fulbright or J1 visa that you want to go back. So you would have to come back to Ireland and spend your 2 years here. You cannot be a dual US-Irish citizen. You can't be living in the United States at your time of application, and you cannot have recent extensive experience of studying or living in the United States. We always say, if you have a specific query about that, please do reach out to us and we can advise you. There is quite a lot of flexibility in how that might be perceived, but certainly reach out to us if you're not clear on that aspect. So the type of Fulbright awards in our current program, we have foreign student programs. So that's the postgraduate students, where you can go to either do postgraduate research or postgraduate degree programs, or a master's or a PhD, for instance, or an MPhil award. So that's the Fulbright student program, and the term of the award will last for between a minimum of 4 months to a maximum of 10 months. Then if you're, as we mentioned before, if you're a scholar, which means you have your PhD or a professional doctorate, that you will apply for the scholar program. Or if you're a professional with 5 years relevant professional experience, you will apply to the Fulbright Visiting Scholar program, as it's known. Again, that's for a minimum of 3 months and a maximum of 10 months. It can be academic. You can be an academic or professional. You can be carrying out research, or you can be lecturing in the United States. So another scholar award, then it's a specialist award, and we will talk about it, is the Tech Impact Award. And that's for a short-term program, and that's 2 weeks to 3 months. So it's a very unusual program, even within Fulbright world. The Irish Commission is one of the few that actually has a short-term program like this. There's other programs that we don't need to talk about the teaching Irish language. That's not relevant to this particular talk today. The Fulbright Human Awards are hosted by our colleagues in Belgium, and it's open to professionals or academics. So that's student and scholar awards who can apply for that. And so if you're Irish and you want to go to the United States, you can study, research, or lecture, and it's for 9 months. We'll provide details of that as we go further along. So coming back to our generic award would always be all disciplines. So we say all disciplines, so it's open to people in all sorts of disciplines who want to apply. This is a standard core award that we have. So it's called all disciplines, or it's called Open Research or Open Study Program in the United States. And for the scholars and professionals in all disciplines, it's you must have it's the same requirements of a PhD or professional scholarship or professional doctorate, or 5 years relevant professional experience. You must establish an affiliation with your US institution, unless it's well, for the sponsored awards, we do have some institutions, but this one is open. So this is really open-ended for you as an applicant to figure out where you want to go. We also have an equivalent award for postgraduate level students, again in all disciplines, and it's the same requirements there. The 4 to 10 months duration, you must establish your affiliation as well. So saying a little bit more about the Tech Impact Awards, you might remember I said these were 2 weeks to 3 months short term. Really, it's about the impacts of technology. So either you are bringing some technology to the United States, or you've identified some technology that you wish to learn to use in the United States that you wish to bring it back. So we're reasonably flexible and broad in terms of this impact, but it must have some technological aspect to it. And so in particular, IT overlaps, ICT and IT. It's non-commercial. The research is for 2 weeks to 3 months, so it can often suit a busy professional, for instance, that they can buy out their time from their company, or if they're coming from a research department, sometimes it's a better opportunity to do that. We would always see this as well as a starting point, and we would fully expect that you continue the engagement post the 2 weeks to 3 months. I would always say go for as long as you can within that. If you can go up to 3 months, then absolutely do that. But these awards are quite interesting, and I would say sometimes they're quite undersubscribed, so you might consider that. We do have a number of sponsored awards as well. So these sponsors are providing their hosting, or they're providing funding for that, and we have different areas across our spectrum. And we obviously have awards for the US side as well. So we have a number of sponsors across with quite a robust group of sponsors that are provide awards. We're going to talk about some very specific awards here, but we would say that I would encourage people to specifically look at the sponsored awards. Over the years, I've often been asked, is it better to apply for all disciplines in an area or apply for a sponsored award in an area? I think for a lot of the people I'm talking to today, I would encourage you to identify a sponsored award that you can apply for. And there are a number of very interesting ones, which again, sometimes can be undersubscribed to. So there's always an open opportunity to make your case for a sponsored award. Talking about then specific scholar awards, then we mentioned that we've already spoken about the Tech Impact and the All Discipline Scholar Award, but there are some other awards as well that you might be interested in. Fulbright EPA Scholar Award in Water, Climate Change and Sustainable Environment. There's Fulbright Geological Survey of Ireland Award in Geoscience. There's a Teagasc Scholar Award in Agriculture, Food, Forestry and Environment. And there's a Museum Scholar Award to the Smithsonian Institute, which of course is a broad canvas across many different areas. They've newly agreed that scholars can apply to this. Previously, this was just a student award. It will now also be scholars will be eligible. So again, I would say to look at these awards and consider, can I fit into them? All of those areas are quite broad in itself, and depending on the area you're working in, it may well fit into the technology or the area of interest you have may well fit into those areas. So consider those as well. For student awards and sponsored awards, again, we have the Geological Survey of Ireland Student Award. We have a Teagasc Student Award and the Environmental Protection Agency Student Award as well. I mentioned the same ones. So we have Fulbright Museum Student Award to the Smithsonian. And we have two associated awards, which are actually gaining a huge traction, certainly broader than the Irish Fulbright program for different Fulbrighters applying. The associated award with Florida Polytechnic University. And then there's another associated award with the University of Southern California. This is a student award. Just for note, when we say associated, the reason we say that is because they either have a partial fee a waiver, or they allow you to effectively pay for your full fees, for the rest of your fees, by providing some work. And so it could have been student training or classes associated parts. But I would strongly encourage people to look at those opportunities, and I'm going to talk about those in a little bit more detail. So the Florida Polytechnic Award, it is very much STEM focused. It's for 10 months, and it's an opportunity to go to do a master's and in Florida Polytechnic University. Very fast developing university, a lot of drive behind the components of it. So it's an opportunity to go to fund out your master's through becoming a research assistant and tuition support. So on top of the grant that the Fulbright program would provide, the remainder of your fees should be covered with depending on the tuition support agreement that you work out with the university. But I would strongly invite people to look at this. That's a great opportunity to progress your career in an interesting environment as well. And if you fancy going to the other side of the United States, then obviously the University of Southern California. So if you wish to do a Master's of Science, you can apply to this. For that, then they will provide, it's not a full fee waiver, it's partial fee waiver for that program. Again, you would be going on a Fulbright stipend from us, and then you can look to discussing the rest of the costs of the fees there. But the fact that they are associated means they've already got as part of the fees already covered. That's for a master's. If you're doing an engineering PhD, well, in that case, then you can get your fees covered. Now, Fulbright will only cover the first year of that program, but thereafter you're part of the University of Southern California PhD program. So again, great opportunity for anybody who wishes to go to study in Southern California. So please do consider those awards. Looking at then for the sponsored awards, we mentioned the EPA award, the GSI award, and the Teagasc award. Again, both of those are open. They're either the student award or the scholar award. I would say that all those agencies as well, a big value of applying to these types of awards are actually that you also get to liaise with EPA, GSI, or Teagasc. So there's a great opportunity there to kind of, if you're coming as a student, to kind of supercharge your earlier stage career. If you're coming at it as a scholar, well, to create additional connections programs in your space and be very much part of the agency that is co-sponsoring this award. So again, these are great awards, and I would strongly encourage people to consider applying for them. There's a broad spectrum of areas that we and the agencies are interested in. So if you have any specific queries, please do reach out to us, and be innovative. I would strongly encourage that aspect. So the requirements then, applications are made through an online system which is hosted in the US. It's now open, obviously, and your deadline for submission is Thursday, 23rd of October at 4 p.m. Irish time. So the system closes down at that point. So a minute past that, unfortunately, that's closed down. The information you will need is obviously your personal information. It will ask you basic information and your CV. Then it would ask you for a Fulbright statement or personal statement. This is a really important one because we really want to find out about you. This is what Fulbright invests in people. That's what we're primarily interested in. Because we support all disciplines and a myriad of other sponsored awards, it's less about the area and it's much more about the person. So it's a great opportunity for you to talk about yourself and describe yourself. This is one of the things that makes Fulbright very different and your application to Fulbright very different. It's a really interesting process to go through. It's a very, very useful process to go through as well. Then obviously the project statement. Project statement is about either the research you want to do or the course you want to study or the lectures that you wish to give or the combination of research and lectures that you might want to provide as a scholar or as a professional. And so again, most people will find that fairly easily. It's based on information you probably already have and you have a good direction. So funnily enough, the Fulbright statement, the personal statement, is the one that probably takes a little bit more time and should take more time and care. If you're applying for a sponsored award, then please complete the sponsored award form. It's really just to advise why you're specifically applying for this award, engagement in this kind of very specific area, or even maybe your engagement with the sponsoring agency. So consider that. It's not a big form, but it's something for you to consider. You will need 3 recommenders. Realistically, those recommenders should be working in your space, in your academic space. If you're a student, you may not be able to get all 3 recommenders. So you might consider if there's other professional recommender that you could add to that. Typically, where you can, we would say obviously go from either the company you're with, if you've been a number of years away from your academic days, and that's fine. But those recommenders should be professional or academic recommenders. You will need your passport copy, and if you're an artist, you supply some samples of work, ideally through links, so that makes it easier for the reviewers to assess. But if you need, you can also send us in physical copies of that. And the last thing you should be looking for is a letter of affiliation for researchers or scholars. Students, you may not need that if you're going, but at some point you would need to show us that you've been accepted to a course that you're applying to. For researchers and scholars, you don't need it at the time of application, but just beware at some point we will ask where you're at in your process and where the supports are. So if you can get that sooner rather than later, then I would strongly recommend that you do so. It also gives you a surety that they are actually interested in taking you, that it's not a vaporware conversation at an early stage, but there's an opportunity for you to actually follow through on the award that hopefully you get a chance to win. Preparing your application, the project proposal, well, why is the work groundbreaking, or why is it groundbreaking for you, or why is the area of study that you want to do really interesting and useful, and why you a good fit for that. Rationale for why you need to be in the States, why do this course in the States, why work with this research group, why lecture in this area, why does it have to be the United States? I would say be specific where you can identify your specific areas of focus. Talk about it. It should be a story that adds up, not something a little bit nebulous, but should have a clear plan associated with it. Explain your objectives and your expected results. Most people are very comfortable and confident doing that. What impact will this have on your discipline or your research or your career? We're interested in people, and we're interested in the impacts both in your discipline, your area, and how it will impact you, how it will develop your stage in, the next stage in life, irrespective of where you are on your career at the beginning, or if you're at a emeritus stage. But what is the value back to you, and what is the impact that the work, the research you're going to do, or the study that you're going to do? So that's things I think a lot of people are quite familiar with anyway in terms of project proposal. The statement is very much about you personally. Do tell us about you. Ultimately, this is what we're trying to find out. So the more you can provide, the better a picture you can paint for this. Personal and professional ambitions, your motivations, interests, all of that, what you want to achieve in the US, and then the role and the benefit of being a Fulbrighter. That's easily found out. And I'm going to talk about it in a minute, but I would say talk to Fulbrighters and find out what that actually means. Don't rehash your study objective, of your CV. We're less interested in that. You've had your time, and that space is taken up. Now it really becomes about you. Do tell us about you. And the hint there is in Fulbright program, we invest in people. I can't overstate that because it's such an important part of the program. So we really, really do want to know about you. And you may not have come across that before, but it is a facet of what the Fulbright program is about. And it's probably one of the real reasons why it's been such a long-standing and a successful program. Finding your host. Who do you want to work with? You may already know. You may have identified papers, or you may have said, well, I'd love to go to this university or this region in the States, but we would say do your research. It's a big country. You have many, many opportunities there. I would say consider the full gamut of US options. Very often, we're quite narrowed, and we know of a name or a few names of the universities, of major universities, say, well, that's where I want to go. You can have a good experience there, but very often the best experiences happen outside of the big names. I've been saying for years, based on a conversation I did have at one stage, but you could say you could be an Irish Fulbright rock star in Oklahoma City compared to maybe being one of many Fulbrighters, and not necessarily the only Irish person on campus of somewhere like Harvard. So in terms of your experience, I would say it ramps up where you can move across the United States. There are so many fantastic institutes and research stations and universities and community colleges. That full gamut is open to you. And in terms of your experience and where you might get to, it's not always an obvious answer that you need to go to a big Ivy League, because very often they're not connected in the way that you want them to be. Um, with an academic and professional assessment of your area, the project statement you've put in, whether it makes sense, whether the timeline is probably appropriate, why the States, why this particular area. So these are aspects we are going to be assessing. We're also going to look and say, well, what else are you going to do when you're there? Because it is a cultural exchange program at its heart through education. So there is an aspect at the review stage. If you get called into, then it flips around where, again, we'll be looking at a lower level for the academic professional aspects of that. In fact, part of it is you may be talking to people who are not experts in your area. They're more expert in terms of Fulbright experience, and that's the bigger part of it. So don't be surprised if you're being asked about yourself and less about your work. But this is a big part of the program. And I think, where people have considered that and done their homework and really thought about it, for themselves, and never mind for the interviews, but for themselves. I think that's where people do best, is just to be able to have that discussion internally and then be able to represent that at an interview. So it's an important aspect of that. Don't be surprised if you are asked about yourself, I guess, is the key point there. So in terms of framing all of this for you, let's say, well, we are dedicated to fostering merit-based excellence whilst honoring the unique contributions of every individual. This is very, very, at our core, this is very important to us, and we're always looking for people who are coming from underrepresented areas. In fact, at some level, everybody comes from an underrepresented area. There's some aspect of you, which is why we really want to find out about you as a person. So it's a big part of our program and has been. So there is merit-based excellence, but there is also, we're looking at the individual and all aspects of the individual who's applying. Makes for a very robust program and very robust alumni as well. So in terms of resources, you're obviously on this webinar. You've possibly had a look at some other webinars. which sometimes can kind of repeat a lot of the same information. But there's an opportunity as well if you're in an institution in Ireland, an academic institution, a university, there's probably a Fulbright ambassador, so you could look them up and talk to them. They'll be delighted to talk to you. You can look through alumni videos and their testimonials to give you a sense for the experience. And when you're writing your story, include those kind of the experiences that you hope to have. You can obviously look at Fulbright events. You can get other supports from your higher education institution, and you can follow Fulbright affiliate groups. So these are one ways to do it, or some ways to do it. We're coming to the end of this aspect of the presentation, but I think it's important to say that congratulations, 90% of successful awardees have attended a Fulbright roadshow or webinar. This statistic is probably from about 3 years ago, but it still holds true. So the fact that you've come to a webinar means that you get the better understanding of the program and the application here. So you've vastly increased your chance of being successful. We will say that it's really important to engage at some level. This is a non-standard, it's about you. So it's a non-standard application in that sense. So it won't just go by rote. It's a good process to go talk to people about that. And do reach out. 50% of those who started but didn't complete an application were people who didn't engage with any supports. They just went in and started trying to write out their application and then paused because they hit something they didn't quite understand or couldn't consider. Didn't take the opportunity to go and talk about it. Now, possibly some people just left it so late that that opportunity was less and less there. But I would say that do talk to people. In terms of the States, you're pushing an open door. Saying why you want to go to the States, that you want to do a Fulbright is very much a way to open your opportunity, get people to consider working with you. Realistically, they'll probably be quite impressed that you're applying as a Fulbrighter anyway. So that helps easing the door open. And lastly, consider in your whole application and where you want to go, you're seeking to join a Fulbright family. So consider that the family values and the experience you want to have and the experiences you want to be able to share and talk about with other Fulbrighters who will be very much on your side and in your space. So consider all of that as you write your application. So your next steps, when you're already in the process in terms of the webinars and hopefully looking through our website and reading the information that we provide. Coming back to a key thing, there's talk to a Fulbrighter. There are plenty of Fulbrighters around, so we would strongly support the idea that you reach out to Fulbrighters. There's a great opportunity to talk to them. They're very much going to be on your side because most of them will want you to have the experience that they had or some version, your version of that experience. You can go to our website, fulbright.ie. There's more information there, and all of our social media handles are there on these slides, are also available on our website. So consider those all as resources. So that's me done talking about the program and all of the technical aspects and why you should apply. I'm going to pass it over now in a second to Paul Van Kampen. Paul is a recent scholar, Irish scholar to the States, and he's very kindly given up his lunchtime to come and talk to us today. Paul, thanks very much. I'm going to go quiet now and I'm going to pass it over to you. If you just want to tell me when to move on the slides.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Dara. So, yeah, in short, my Fulbright experience has been great. I'll start from the very start. For me, it was beyond doubt that I would go with my family or not at all. Now, my family or my wife works in academia too, so I knew that it would be a good chance that she'd be able to take a sabbatical of some sort. And my youngest was in transition year, so that would be a good way to add to her transition year experience, even though she may not quite have seen it that way. So initially we were thinking of going for half a year, but we changed our minds because of two influences. One was our youngest, who sort of liked the idea of dipping her toes into high school, but she wasn't too thrilled about the prospect of missing her friends for at least half a year. And secondly, my host, who said that he would strongly advise against arriving in Maine in the heart of winter. So ultimately, we settled on 3 months of research only, followed then by 3 weeks of traveling Maine at the end. So that kind of brings me to how I selected my host. So I ended up working with two people that I already knew professionally. With one, I'd collaborated before some, maybe 20 years ago, and the other I'd gotten to know while he was on sabbatical in Ireland, in fact, on a Fulbright, though not with me, totally coincidental. But yeah, I want to make clear it wasn't a case of me meeting up with my mates. It was really finding a research partner in the United States whose interests were adjacent to mine, but a little bit different, and where both parties were convinced that we would complement each other and be of so much added value to each other that we'd only want to keep working together. And I mean, clearly, having known both of my collaborators made contacting them pretty easy. It was just an email and saying, hey guys, let's chat over Zoom. But yeah, it was really with a purpose. And yeah, Dara said it already, but for me, Fulbright is really about cultural exchange, and I genuinely believe in that. And I knew it rationally, and it was really, I think, a key part of my application. But I really felt it on the awards day. There really is a Fulbright family, and it's nice to be a part of it. And it's not a cult; it's a family. It's definitely good. So I think these were kind of the raw ingredients for my application. Now, I think we can all write a decent proposal in our own area of expertise, so I won't really belabor that. But what I think got me over the line is three things. So I built a complete picture of what life in the US could be like. I thought about all my weaknesses and I turned them into strengths. And that intangible thing that I came to believe that this program was really a good fit for me. So my research is in physics education. Often that means that you fall between two stools, but for me, the All Disciplines Award seemed to be a really good fit. No physicist could say that I was doing education. No educationalist could say that I was only doing physics. Clearly, I'm not Irish, though I've lived here for more than 30 years. So I made that a strength. Like I've already shown I can integrate, and going with the family, it means that Fulbright would get three cultural ambassadors for the price of one. And I had a plan for integrating, so that would be both through my daughter's high school and by joining a hiking club. In the end, that didn't work out. We ended up making friends in a different way through our landlady and through the family of one of our hosts. But it didn't matter. The thing that mattered, I think, is that I had a plan. Um, and so, yeah, maybe a little bit about the impact of the Fulbright exchange. So, what I would say is that we now absolutely love Maine, and by which we mean central Maine. We now understand that southern Maine is not Maine at all. And we also love its people. So we adapted to small town living. So the University of Maine is in Bangor, in Stephen King Town, which has 30,000 inhabitants, and that makes it the second biggest city in all of Maine. But we got to love the small town we were staying in. It has an amazing library, gorgeous nature everywhere. The local park has bears and moose. And, after a while, I didn't even stop anymore when I saw a deer because they were just everywhere. And we went to see plays by local companies of, I'd say, surprisingly high quality. The locals taught me how to make lobster rolls from scratch. We did local games like playing cornhole and candlepin bowling. We ate whoopie pies. We even drank moxie. I wouldn't recommend that. So we experienced lots of hospitality. And I think most importantly, we witnessed so many micro kindnesses that just don't make the news here. And in fact, they don't make the news in the US. If you look at the US, TV, you see more or less the same news as you do here. But being there, you see sides that are just really wonderful. So of course, there were challenges too. I think partly related to our relatively short stay. It wasn't so easy to find accommodation for just 4 months, big enough to live comfortably in and have space for visitors. The University of Maine is small and it faces massive funding cuts, so their help was great when it came to academic affairs. Otherwise, they couldn't do a whole heap. And we ended up agonizing over renting a car or buying a car. You really can't do without a car in small time USA. And it was, a challenge to find something affordable. But in the end, we found websites, furnishedfinder.com. We found, believe it or not, a company called Rent-A-Wreck, and all of that helped us out. I would also say that life is unimaginably expensive. The shopping bill is 2 to 3 times higher than here, and I'm talking about shopping in Walmart. But all of that, it was most definitely worth it. You forget the challenges. What stays with you is really all the positives. And to bring it back to the research, later today, I will have my 2 weekly meetings with my collaborators and the 2 postgrads I ended up working with. Yeah, it's a little bit early to say, what impact it's going to have on my career in the future, but, it couldn't look better than it does right now. It really looks like we have a lasting collaboration. We're all looking forward to meeting and exchanging ideas and keeping that project going. And I would say that, yeah, it's not just about lasting collaboration, but also about lasting friendships, I would say. Yeah, I think that sort of sums it up. Yeah, so maybe I will talk a little bit there. I will give some background here to the pictures that you see. So on the left, you see me and the husband of our landlady. So he's showing me how to, basically there are bad ways of tackling lobster and there are good ways. And as it turns out, both of his uncles were in the lobster fishery. There you see in the middle, you see the campfire with the compulsory s'mores. It doesn't get more American than that. And on the right, you see us going to the Rocky Horror Show, which was great fun. It ended up, more or less coincidentally, the daughter of our host was a director, and that's us as we wave goodbye to Bangor, Maine. That's it, I think.
Paul, thank you very much. And thanks very much for the pictures as well, because it's useful, obviously, that we talk in a kind of a generic sense about the experience. And I think the pictures then bring home the real human experience of time spent in the States. And I think your pictures kind of then show what that experience is. I mean, my view is the work always gets done. It's the other experiences you have that really set the value of the time there. So thank you very much for that. We've answered a couple of questions in the Q&A section there. I don't know if there's going to be any more questions. We will have in October, we will have a more detailed nitty-gritty webinar that allows you to ask, kind of those last-minute detailed questions, about font sizes and all of that kind of stuff. So there's an opportunity for anybody on this call or anybody watching this to obviously follow our schedule and take the opportunity then to maybe attend that if you have very specific questions. But for everybody who's hopefully looking at this, I would say best of luck. Do consider what we've said here. If I was to reiterate the points, I would say that it is very much about you. I would say also to give serious look at applying for the sponsored awards, be a little bit innovative in what your application might be to ones in any of those areas. I think probably a lot of people can be quite innovative, and there's a great opportunity. It also brings a variety to the type of applications that we see applying for sponsored awards in particular. And the all disciplines is easy in a sense that it is all disciplines. I think for the sponsor awards though, there's a strong opportunity to apply there and be successful for those. So best of luck to everybody. Thank you very much for attending this. Thanks very much to Paul for sharing his experience there. It's wonderful to see, and it's very fresh as well. So I think that's probably a good point to come back to as you kind of reintegrate back in Ireland, and you have to do the flip side to come back to adjusting back to life in Ireland. So thanks very much, and we will be talking to you again. Eva, thanks for managing this in the background. And again, best of luck to everybody. We hopefully will see you on the flip side at interview.